Hi, and welcome to Chapter 6. We're going to be going through some blocks today, and I'm going to explain what those are just now, and we're going to look at how to create some and how to find them and just work with them in general. Okay? Great. So, alright, blocks are groups of kind of objects or symbols or components or common details that you might use, and instead of having to draw these things yourself all the time, like sanitary ware, let's say, every time you draw a floor plan, you don't have to draw a toilet or a basin from scratch, at scale 1 to 50 or whatever the case is, because it's already been done. Okay, someone's already done it and they've saved it as a block, which is like a little group of lines or whatever, the things that are the geometry that makes up the shape. Maybe it's a car in a garage, maybe it's a side view of somebody in elevation, that you can use on a architectural layout or something like that. So they're freely available on the internet. There's a lot of websites that offer them, and you can create them from inside AutoCAD and you can share them, and it's just an easy way to kind of put these things into your drawing without having to go through the effort of drawing it yourself. So we're going to jump into just how to insert one into your drawing right off the bat, and it's pretty straightforward. So you're going to be looking at this area up here on the ribbon, which is the block panel. Okay, and you're just going to click insert. Okay, we're going to want to insert a block, so I can click this button up here. I can also just type I into the command line. There we go. Okay, and it pops up with this insert panel, and you'll see if I click this icon here, it does the same thing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to browse for the file. So the block file that you download or you get from a friend or a flash drive or whatever, it's going to be saved to your hard drive somewhere. So I'm going to go browse, and this will open the drive for me to to look for it. So I happen to have it in my documents folder here at the moment. I made one earlier. I'm going to call it a bed block, or it's called bed block. I'm going to say open. Okay, and then it gives me a couple of options here that I can use to scale the thing before I bring it into the drawing. Okay, but I'm going to do that in the drawing. In fact, it's ready to scale, so I don't need to do that. But it is worthwhile checking other blocks that you download that they are actually to scale. Sometimes if it's drawn in North America, for example, it might be in inches, and then it might look really weird on your screen. So the only thing that's ticked here is specify on screen, okay, the insertion point, and that's just where in your drawing you're going to put it. So I've selected the file now on the computer using the browse button. I'm just going to click OK, and there, it's now given me the bed block that I created a while ago. Okay, and I've just drawn this empty room here, and I'm just going to place it kind of right there. So it was that simple. Okay, I just clicked insert. I looked for the block on my computer, and then I put it straight into the drawing. And you'll notice that now that I've put the block in the drawing, when I go down to insert, its default option is not going to give me that window to browse for it on the computer anymore. It's just going to show me that block that's now sort of embedded in my drawing file now. And if I were to add a second one or a third one, you'd see that pop up under this list as well. It means that if you're drawing, let's say, a few bedrooms and you want to go back and put that block in, you can get it right from this menu up here. Okay, I'll just find it there. If I click on it, I can put another one in. I can choose it again. I can put another one in, and so on and so forth. So the other really easy way to insert a block is just to find it in your Windows Explorer or a Mac Finder, and then drag and drop it straight from there into your drawing. Okay, so I've got one in the background here. Okay, I've opened the folder with the block file in it in Explorer. So I'm going to use bed block here. I'm just going to click on it once and then just drag it down to the AutoCAD icon on my taskbar. You can't see it, but it's there. Okay, you just drag it into the icon that's on your taskbar where all your apps live down there, and you'll see that the window then pops it back to AutoCAD. And then without letting go, you can see my cursor's got a little box around it, and now I've positioned it over the AutoCAD window. I just let go, and there, it's given me that bed block. Okay, and it's asking me to specify my scale factor. I'm just going to type 1. Remember, that's how scale works. 1 is original size, 100%. Enter. Use rotation. I'm just going to say nothing. There we go. So there's my block, and I'm going to try it again with another one. Here's one called Tub Share, and let's go to AutoCAD. And then I drop it, insertion point right there, scale factor 1, X scale factor, same as same as Y, rotation angle, it's going to hit 0. There we go. So now it's giving me that block as well. And that just dragged it and dropped it. It was that easy. Those are a couple of ways to insert blocks and then where they live after they've been inserted. Okay. And then for the next section, we're going to create a block. Okay, so this this bed, let's make a chair over to the side. Okay, let's use that as an example. So I'm going to draw something here quickly. So I just created this kind of, imagine this is kind of like a really cool 60s old school like lounge chair or something like that, okay? And this is my block for it, and I just created with some circle and a bunch of other tools. Now I want to save this thing as a block because I know my buddy's working on a, you know, an interior from this period. He's like, hey, have you got any like pre-drawn furniture? I'm like, yeah, I drew this chair. Here you go, man. Yeah, that doesn't actually happen. People don't really go like, you know, meet up with their friends and share CAD blocks. Life is a bit more exciting than that. But anyway, I can either type block, okay, the block command, or I can just go to create block, which is up here in the ribbon. Okay, so under the same panel, over there's a little button for it. Looks like a little star next to this thing, create. Okay, and it pops up with this window here that says block definition. Okay, so this is where I get to define the various properties of the block. And the first one I'm going to do is name. So I've just clicked into this name field here, and I'm just going to call it tub chair. Okay, my base point, I've got it ticked here to specify on screen. So that means that when I close this box now, it's going to give me an option just to choose with my mouse cursor where I want that base point to be. Okay, and that's going to be kind of the grip that's going to hang around that block whenever I'm using it. So I'm happy with that. It's asking me if I want to keep the objects that I've selected to create the block. If I want to keep them as separate objects and just have the block stored there in the drawing for me, but not visible in the actual drawing space, or if I want to convert those elements that I've selected into an actual block. That's the default setting, and I suggest just leave it on there for now. You can play around with the others when you're more comfortable with it. So, okay, I've done these things. I just basically enter the name. I'm going to say OK. No objects will be selected for the job. Oh, okay, select objects. My bad. I'm going to select them now. Yeah, done. Hit enter. Okay, it's going to take me back here. I'm going to click OK again. Okay, and now it's asking me to specify my insertion base point. Okay, so I'm going to choose the middle of this chair. There. And now if I click on it, you'll see it's grouped it together. It's created as a block. And now, if I go up to blocks over here, or insert at least, it should be there next to the bed. There it is, bed and tub chair. Okay. So I just took a bunch of lines and I just created it into a block by using that little tool up there, create block icon. And I can also type the command block. Comes up with the same thing. Okay. And if I ever want to edit this block later, okay, so I decide like maybe I need to make a small change to it, I can click on it. And then if I to select it, and then if I right click on it, you'll see over here is something called block editor. So I'm going to just go to block editor. I'm going to click on that. Okay. And then it gives me this little pane that comes up here, and I've got a couple of extra options. I can change the base point if I wanted to. I can flip, I can rotate, I can do a bunch of things. Okay. But I can also just go back to my regular home ribbon here, and you'll see the screen has changed a different color to let me know that I'm inside the block editor. And I've got some a new tab up here with options for me to basically completely change the crap out of this thing. So I can add random lines there. Imagine someone who slashed it now with a knife there. You ruined my chair, man. I'm just going to draw a random circle in there just for no reason at all. And then when I'm done, I'm going to click close block editor. Okay, it's this big button here with a giant green tick on it. Okay, I made some changes. Cool. Close. Do you want to save the changes? Yes, I do want to save them. There we go. So now when I go to that block, and if I look at it down here, you'll see the block is now updated with those extra lines that I put in there. Okay, and that's how to create a block out of a drawing yourself. And the next thing we'll look at is now how to get this block saved as an external file, something that you can upload to the internet, something you can give to your friend, or something you can store for yourself on your hard drive or a USB or wherever. Okay, so I'm just going to select that block again. And now I can use the write block command. So I can type W block, okay, and it's going to give me that command. And if you want to find it on the ribbon, it's not under this home section, and interestingly enough, it's not under block either. But if you go to insert over here, and then you look here on the third button from the left, there's something called create. Just click that little arrow next to it, okay, and you'll see there right block. So you can use the command, or you can use this right block command over there. I mean right block icon. Okay, so now it's asking me what are the source objects that I want to write into the block. So I can choose some from the drawing, or I can actually go up to select a block here. I can choose one that I've already drawn and saved as a block inside the drawing. So in this case, I'm just going to go to Tab Chair, and it's telling me where do I want to save it. Yeah, my name, documents, Tab Chair, that's fine. Insert units is millimeters, so just leave it at that. There's really not much else to it. I'll just click OK. And it seems like nothing's done, but if I go now to my files here, we're going to see documents. There we go, tubchair.dwg. It created that there as a DWG for me. And if I were to double click and open this, here we go, it opened tubchair, and if I zoom out, okay, there's my tubchair. So you can now copy and paste this, you can give it to your friend, or whatever you want to do with it. That's the way that you've now written that block to the hard drive. Okay, and the last thing we'll look at, which is not really a tool, is just about downloading blocks. Okay, so there are a lot of places on the internet that you can do it, and I've listed some here in the notes. The main thing to know is just that other software also uses things that they call blocks, or people use the name incorrectly. It doesn't mean necessarily that all blocks you find will be compatible with AutoCAD. But there are so many. Just have a look at the website and have a look at some of the filters that they have available. Sometimes you can choose, I want a block for AutoCAD, or I want it for Revit, or I want it for AutoCAD. Just make sure AutoCAD is the block that you download, because then you'll know it'll work with AutoCAD really. So DWG is the file format usually to look out for. Okay. And there's one last thing to this chapter, which is just object groups. Okay, so a block is very similar to a group in a way. But groups don't appear here underneath the insert section. Okay, they're not saved in a kind of a block format. They're a little bit different. So I'm just going to draw something here, because groups is really quite basic. So I don't know what this is. Okay, but imagine I just want to have all these objects, just grouped together, so that if I want to move this somewhere, I don't want to have to select each thing. I want to click on one thing and kind of select them all together, almost like a polyline. Okay, so all I need to do is just select the objects I want to put in the group. Okay, and then now they're selected, I right click on them. Okay, and then you'll see it gives me an option here, group, on the menu, and I just go sideways there to the right and click on group. Now if I go to this thing there, it's got this little grey box that appears around it, and the whole thing selects together as one grouped element. So it's a lot easier for me to just move, I can just select a part of it, and the whole thing is connected to all of its little group components. And if I decide later that I don't want it as a group anymore, I can ungroup it. So I right click on it, I go to that same group slide out menu again, and I can now just say ungroup. Alright, and you'll notice there's a couple extra icons there. I can actually select other objects and add them into an existing group. We won't go into that, but just be aware that it is there. So ungroup, there, it's back into its individual components again. So that was it. It's chapter 6 is really, really short. It's just blocks and groups. Cool.